about business, entrepreneurship, staying motivated, staying inspired. I want to ask him about investing. So here he is. I accept it. I wonder if there he is. Hey, Daymond.
Yo, what's
What's up?
happening?
How are you?
Good. I got a little cold, but I'm good. I got a 5-year-old, so they bring home colds every day.
Oh my goodness, you sound terrible. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, but if you see me around in Florida and you try to shame me for wearing a mask, I'm wearing a mask to protect you, dummy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Anyway.
anybody for a mask. You know me. I'm down for the mask without a pandemic. Take your hand again. I love a wave. That's just me.
All day, all day.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining, especially since you're so well. For those of you who live under a rock, this is Daymond John. He created FUBU, so all of your 90s throwback moments you're having, this is the inception of it all. And of course, Shark Tank, which is on a huge show. Everyone loves it. And then, so that's if you don't know who Daymond is. I like to think of you as like an OG influencer, because not just like the FUBU side and the Shark Tank side, but having worked for you, my relationship to Daymond is that I used to be his PR director, and I'm just a weird fan who like is obsessed with all of the things that he does, and especially inspired by like the work ethic, the creativity, the ideas, and the drive. People think that success sort of happens to people, and I think Daymond is one of the clear examples of seeing someone hustle super hard for themselves. So I always want to talk and inspire other people. People ask how I do things. Like, I'm just kind of the beginning of the nugget. There's plenty of people to look to that can really like inspire us. So I like to think of you as an OG influencer, because the brand deals, it was such a big part of the business when I was there. So
Yeah.
outside and FUBU, you were always like partnering with brands that made sense, and you were always figuring out smart ways where you fit in. And so I just wanted to ask you kind of like, one, how much of that is like your business now? I know you do a lot of speaking. And so what partnerships, meaning a good partnership for you, and then also like how do you be a good partner to a brand?
Well, speaking of that, I mean, I just see who popped on. The champ, Lennox Lewis, who is one of the brands that we partnered with, and we believed in him and he believed in us. It usually is when you see that a brand, they exemplify, they actually believe in what they're doing. And you and I have both worked with brands who they say one thing when they don't mean it. You're seeing a lot these days where brands are trying to align themselves with social causes because they feel like they're left out because other brands do believe in social causes. They go, well, we better believe in something, or we're going to be, we better build a firewall around us before we get in trouble.
Yeah.
But it's really when you get to know the executives or the people behind it or the founders behind it, and it's not usually what they say to you; it's how they act. Behind the scenes. That's when you get to see the real characteristic of a person and a brand, and you also get to see how they treat their staff, their employees. There's a lot of people that believe that leadership is you go get me coffee, you're hired, you're fired, and that's the way they do it. And when you see that, you realize that they may not care for their employees as much as you believe they do. And if they don't care for their employees, why would they care for their customers at the end of the day? But then you'll see other people who will say, what you should say is the people that work for me are the life of my company. That's why I get up every single day. And when you see people treat people internally like that, they're treating other people like their customers the same. They care about them, and I think those are the people you wanna grow with. And I love working with brands that teach me too. I like to be the dumbest person in the room and go in there and go, well, why are you so amazing? And I learn from them, and then I teach them whatever I may know. And I think that is that's the way that's who I like to work with. It's just like working with you, Kel. I mean, you own a certain space. You own being funny. You're stylish. You're everything, and you own it. You put it right out there, and people. That's why we're on here right now, because people respect and value your opinion. You're not an OG influencer. You're an influencer. Period.
Oh, you're so sweet. I thank you so much. And it's funny because that's one of the things that you said. Like, I have all these nuggets from people in my life that said things, and I always remember one thing they said. And you said, don't be the smartest person in the room. And that just stuck with me because, not that I'm some genius or anything, but it felt like I was always around people that were like wanting me to explain something, or me to have the idea or whatever. And switching that up and like going into rooms where I was the one who was like, I don't know, I don't understand. And like, you get so much more from that. So it's not that you shouldn't mentor or teach, is that shouldn't always be the case. You need to walk into rooms where everyone knows more than you, and you walk out of the room with your mind blown, like, man, just sitting in conversation, with people who are brilliant will give you so much. So that's something I always remember you saying.
Well, yeah, because you got to look at it like this. Usually, the loudest person in the room is the most insecure, because that person is trying to, basically say a lot of things. And here's the key to when people are know-it-alls: they answer things immediately, quick. No, not. They immediately, they don't even think and pause for a second. But when you are that person, you're saying, "That's fascinating. Tell me more about that." You know what? You get people behind you because you just made them feel special. Right? And they want to fight for you. They want to root for you. And you don't have a problem going, hey, you know what I just learned from so forth? And they go, yeah, I taught them that.
Yeah.
And you get people to just really, they get behind you. You want people to root for you. And they're rooting for themselves in a sense, right? Because they're like, I just taught that person something. I'm going to learn from that person too. And guess what? We are collectively going to go out there and do that. When you do that with people, you get so much more. You remember, it's the old saying, what Mary Kay used to say? Everybody's walking around with an invisible sign saying, make me feel important. And the day that you ask somebody something, you can learn from anybody and everybody. A person doesn't have to go to college or be some brainiac. That person can be, it's very hard to learn common sense. And a lot of people don't have common sense. And when you talk to simple, everyday people that are successful in life, deem whatever you call success is, they can teach you things. And that's what I just love. I love learning from people.
That's facts. I remember an old boss of mine from years ago said, he was like, I'd hire a high school dropout. I don't give a shit. Like, if someone's smart, they have it, So that's how we choose partners. So what makes us a good partner to brands that we want to work with? And if you're not in the influencer space, whoever you're working with could be your partner in your business. It could be your boss. But like, what makes us good partners to brands, outside of just like being who we are? We're creative and interesting. But then what?
Well, it's always, like, people don't want to feel like they're paying Pepsi's paying you and you're drinking Coke, but they also want to feel like you are bringing back information to them to make their decisions easier for you. Remember, everybody has a boss, everybody has customers, and everybody has to look at the data, the numbers. And so you could be feeling yourself like, listen, I put up a post, I did this and that, or I showed up. No, show up early, stay later. If something doesn't go as well as planned, not because of you, but maybe somebody dropped the ball here, don't go, well, you guys effed up. You're like, what can I do to help fix this and make it easier for the next time? Because they can spend their money anywhere. It's the same as when you're following people on social media and working with people. Like, when they follow you, I bust my ass every day to try to go through enough likes, and follow the person back and say something else back, because you instead of the people who would just like say, yeah, all right, I put up a great post, and then you like it, they don't say nothing back to you. The ones who say something back to you and give you a little bit of love, again, makes you feel important. And that's what influence is. Influence is to make somebody, impress somebody well enough where they want to follow your lead. Mm-hmm. And influence, unfortunately, we've seen influence work in good and bad ways. There are people out there who have negative influences on people and put people in bad positions, but they do it, because they're true to their brand. Whatever your brand is, as long as you're true to your brand. I like to say, put yourself in 2 to 5 words. One of my favorite rappers was Old Dirty Bastard, and he was an old dirty bastard. He lived it 100%.
Facts, 3 words. We love it. So speaking of partnerships, of course, I had to do a little digging, and I saw that you just partnered with a STEM company, like a STEM tech ID company or
Yeah.
ID. I forgot what it was, but it's like uh, one of the quotes in the wow, my phone went crazy.
It's okay.
How uh, people will say like, well, I'm too old to learn TikTok. I'm too old to learn this or that or the other. And I find that to be also challenging. Like there's always some new innovation, keeping up. Do you need to be on every platform? So one, tell us about the partnership. And two, what are your thoughts about like keeping up with everything?
Yeah, sure. First of all, so the tech company is called ID Tech, and what we do is we have courses, a week course, like camp courses for kids to learn STEM, programming, and various other things. And it's imperative right now for kids to learn that. So we have courses anywhere from kids around 9, I think, to 15 years old. Um, and instead of kids playing and playing games and being the gamer, maybe you could be the one building the software and building your own gaming company. You
I love
know, listen, anything in this world that we are consuming, we can own, right? And I think that it's important for kids today because the traditional jobs of a kid, if you want to be a pizza delivery boy or girl, to make it through college, well, they have autonomous pizza delivery vehicles now. That's not going to be around, right? So
yeah.
maybe you should program them,
It's like
or yeah. So our kids need this, right? 100%. But for adults who say they don't want to learn TikTok and learn this and that, I'm not saying you need to learn TikTok, but you need to understand the fundamentals of any platform. So if you understand Instagram, you probably understand some of the fundamentals of TikTok. But look at Barbara. Barbara's 197 years old, and she's really doing well on TikTok, right? But if you say you're too old, listen, the kid who's 15 right now on TikTok, which TikTok has a lot of users that are over 30, that kid's going to be a consumer at 25 years old. And if you don't know where that kid's going to be, well, then you're gonna be like all the others who fell behind during COVID because they never educated themselves, and their customers were literally right down the block from them. But because they said, I don't want to learn TikTok, social media, I don't have that, I don't capture their emails. Well, they're out of business now,
mm-hmm.
and that's unfortunate, right? So, you gotta you gotta learn. You gotta constantly learn.
It's
I was saying to somebody the other day, there's no moment when you stop learning, right? Like if you if you get an education, you get a degree, and I put a post up. Well, do you think that now all of a sudden you're guaranteed a great job for the rest of your life? Or you go to the gym and you're in shape today? Do you think that shape is going to be guaranteed next year or the year after that, or anything, right? So you've got to constantly keep learning.
It's true. What do you think, like a lot of the conversations around how COVID have impacted business and all the people, it felt really weird. It was this huge disparity in like is just kind of evaporated so quickly. And then a lot of people, myself included, like saw huge upticks. Friends of mine in like home decor spaces, all these businesses that you thought wouldn't do well, their businesses tripled, quadrupled. And it was really like how they were creating access for people. So now that things are sort of opening back up, do you have any thoughts on like how, like, are we pivoting again, or are we kind of keeping in line with making everything accessible all the time? Or I don't know, do you have any thoughts about like the change that's happening again?
Not really. I've been absolutely wrong on almost all of my bets for COVID. I shorted the market. The market is as high as it's ever been. I said to myself, oh man, I can now do some good stuff around the house. There's going to be a lot of auctions, and I'm going to be able to. I've been waiting 6 months for a toaster. I was like, oh, a lot of people are not going to have any money and so I'm going to be able to hire a lot of people for jobs. Oh, let the stimulus thing come out. Nobody wants to work anymore. I've been absolutely wrong. So I think your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
Um, I do believe that the ones that did capture a lot of content and was able to capture people, and now that they can hit their device and they're very comfortable with buying from those people, I think those businesses will still flourish. I always say that I think retailers will have to start being able to provide an experience. You know, I don't know why Macy's doesn't have a runway. In Macy's, you can't have a runway at home, but if Macy's had a runway and all of the people wanted to go, they had to register the time they could be on the runway and with their purchases, and then they're showing people around the world how they're flipping and what they're purchasing in Macy's and how they're fashionistas.
Yeah.
Then now you have tentacles hitting, you know, and each one of those kids got 10,000, 20,000, a million people. Now all of a sudden Macy's has then become, again, the world's greatest department store with the world's greatest people advertising all around the world for you. But the only way you get to see that runway is you're on the Macy's site. And of course, Macy's selling you more and more shit.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's got to be experiences.
It's true. What do you think about, so I just did a chat about balance and workaholic. You know, I feel like I'm in that in-between age where like a lot of my friends are younger than me or older than me, and like the U generation, not to make like you're not wildly older than me, but it's more like just the U generation of like who were adults in the 90s versus kids. And you and the puppy mentality, like y'all just working like absolutely berserk hours and just the grind and all that. And then the new conversation being balance and I don't, you know, need to kill myself for work. And I feel like trapped in the middle of this conversation of like being around people who had that, like the idea of like, y'all don't cry at work now? That's cute. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not like at work, but like you don't just go in the bathroom and just be hysterical for a second or like cry on the subway home. Oh, you want to be normal? Like, wow, that's so new and fresh. And so me having had access to your schedule and telling you 1,000 times that I don't even know how you are standing, and that I like, it made me say that I refused to say I'm tired. And that was because of you, because I'm like, no, it's not. It's unreasonable for me to be tired. What is he, how?
Right.
So now the new thinking is like, you know, balance. And I see you definitely from afar being more balanced because I see you doing your fun stuff more. Like you've always had fishing and your hobbies and you love nature. And I see that. So I always feel glad that you're doing more of that. But like, how do we balance, or do you even subscribe to this notion that, you know, there's like, to me, it's like people coming up don't work hard enough and then they think we're insane, you know? So like, what's right?
Yeah. So, you know, at certain times of your life, at certain times of my life, I put in a lot of work and I worked over hard for various things. I mean, you know, when I started FUBU, it was because I was at the worst time of my life. I was 22 years old. I decided not to go to college, and I made fun of all the kids that went to college. And then I was 22 years old serving them shrimp at Red Lobster because they came back from college and now they had a job. And I realized that I was the idiot. And I realized that I had to put in 2 times the amount of work to catch up. So I didn't sleep at all. 3 hours a night up until 30 years old, just trying to really do my thing, because I realized that my fault was that I thought I was too smart when I was younger. And so I put that time in. Then FUBU hit, and there was no promise that FUBU was ever going to make it a hot fashion brand last 5 to 7 years. You know, we're not talking about the unicorns like Nike or Louis Vuitton. So I knew I had to put in twice the amount of work then. Then when FUBU started to slow down, my ego got in the way, and I didn't want to be called a one-trick pony, even though I no longer needed to work. But now I had a place to fall from. Oh, look at Daymond, you know, that FUBU stuff back in the day. So I worked again so very hard, and I transitioned over into television, which very few shows, like I think 2% of shows ever been on 13 years. So I didn't think Shark Tank was ever going to make it. So I was putting in the work there because I was moving into other careers. I was no longer the fashion guy. Now I'm an author. Now I'm a public speaker. And whenever you go into any new industry, I don't care what you are bringing from another industry, you have to bust your ass, because you got people in there who've been there for 20, 30 years and they don't want you there, or you got other ones coming in and are very hungry. So this is the type of work that I put in. And now in life, I'm a little bit, after I found out I had cancer about 2, 3 years ago, I decided to, and that's when I wrote the book Rise and Grind. I decided to make more personal time, because now I got to start saying, all right, well, listen, I'm 50 something years old. I didn't work that hard just to work more. I worked that hard to work less now. And now I have I have my little 5-year-old. And so that's why but when I was earlier on in life, I scheduled to work that hard. Now I schedule to rest this much, or sneak away a little bit of time for myself, but you have to schedule it. It's kind of like, I'm going to get to that vacation one day, going to get to that vacation. If you don't schedule that damn vacation, you're never beginning to get to that vacation.
Yeah.
So that's those are the things that drive me. And every year I reevaluate my inventory and look at my time. Time is my main inventory, and my health, and the people in my life who are good to me, and the people in my life who I love. And I look at that inventory, and then I take out the bad people who I believe, if they're not good friends to themselves, they're never going to be a good friend to me. And I got to make more room for people that I can love and give my time to, and they can give their time to me, and my faith. And I look at all these things as inventory, and I schedule and say, we're going to steal away this amount of time. I'm going to get, I'm going to be a little bit healthier doing this, that. And I schedule it. I look at it just like a P&L system.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Something you mentioned about kind of like being the fashion guy and then going into TV and authoring and all the other things. Similarly, like going from PR into full-time content creation or whatever this is that we do. Same thing. People are like, oh, well, you're a publicist, you can this and that, or they just assume there was this automatic access. And I'm like, no, there were some things that put me ahead in terms of like knowing how to write, or knowing how to communicate or ask for things, or knowing brands and things. But it was still the same kind of like grinding, being new, and all of this. And starting off as like fashion, and now moving into more of a like lifestyle space. What would you say any advice would be because I think that the inspiration for me is like not wanting to be a one-trick pony. And then also, like, we're very similar in that we're like creatives in a natural way, right? We just think of things. You'll be like, Kelly, I thought of this thing, and I'm like, holy shit, it's great, blah, 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 add on. And so that kind of creativity just seeps out of like in all the avenues. And so you don't have to just be fashion if you're also super interested in business, super interested in sports or whatever. For me, like home decor, or like lifestyle stuff. So do you have any like advice for people who are in one vertical, and if you don't know what like area, and then you want to kind of add more to that, do you have any advice for doing that? For me, it's just kind of jump in and just start, but I'm sure you have like obviously had some strategic thinking because you had to go into different like places at a higher level.
Yeah, you look at it's a 20% rule, where you look at about 20% of what you want, of your time should be spent on moving forward and where you want to go. I like Barbara. She says that she puts down a list of A priorities and B priorities, and this is usually in her career or what she wants to do. And then she writes down all the things of the area where she wants to go that she hates. So first of all, what she does with the B's, she's put them aside because she knows she'll never get to those. She looks at the A's and she looks at the things she hates, and she says, how can I outsource this, reduce this, find somebody else for this, or what do I need to pay for it, whatever the case is here. And then she concentrates on the A's only, because what happens is, being a creative person, and not even a creative person, anybody and everybody wants to do a lot of things, right? You get distracted. And often if you take on the things that you hate, part of the duty, you also lose, your attraction to it. And before you do any of these, I do believe you have to jump in, but you have to jump in and educating yourself on what needs to be done. The biggest problem that I have with people coming to Shark Tank is they go, I want to get into the iced tea business. And guess what? The iced tea business is a $50 billion market. Every market's a $50 billion market. Don't just look at the shiny thing and go, oh my God, that's what it's going to be. You have to look at the competition. How many people failed? How many brands are out there? Where's the distribution? So you have to look at the things you hate to then look at the things that you love. Those are the things that I do. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it works out half the time, you know, but, you know, that's the way I look at it. Don't look at it for, you know, you're inspired about something. I'll give you an example. I'm not detail orientated. I don't love operations. I have great people that do operations around me. And I went into a business where I was at a restaurant and I liked the food. And the guy said, you want to be in business with me? I said, absolutely. I love the food. Well, after that, I hated eating the food because I didn't want to deal with all the other crap that came behind it. I realized the aspect of the restaurant I liked was the food, right? Now, all of a sudden, I got to deal with the staff. I got to deal with perishables. I got to deal with shipping. I got to deal with, you know, greasy, all kind of stuff. You got to understand what you like about where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because there's like people saying like, oh, I just want to work for myself, or I want to do what you do. You just get to do whatever you want. And it's like, no, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a boss. There's always parts of every job that you don't like. I hate lots of it. Like, I hate sending my content for review. It's so tedious and annoying, and like writing everything out, and then they won't let you just like sort of submit it. You have to create the whole thing, and basically you're doing it all twice. But I used to have a bad attitude about it. And then one day I just had to say, you're doing exactly what you want to do. There's this one small thing that you don't like, get over it, you know? And I tried to force myself to have like a positive attitude in this one part of the task that I really, really, really thought was a pain in the ass. And it completely changed my outlook, and it made me actually better at the content creation because I wasn't half-assing the part that I didn't like, which was turning in the content for review, versus when I just post organically. And it made me better because I was having a better attitude in this one space that I didn't like. And so it was just better overall.
So, Kelly, the only two things you can control in this world is the lens that you look at something through and the actions that you take. That's it. And once you start to change that lens that you're looking at something through, then the actions you take will reinforce if you change that lens in a positive way or you change it in a negative way. I mean, I'm sick as a dog right now, and I got up to do this IG Live with you. What was the lens I looked at it through? First of all, I love you. I haven't talked to you in a long time. Second of all, I do need to get up because if I just lay in the bed, I'm probably going to be worse. You know what I mean? And now my day is better because I'm up and I'm running around. I feel better, right? I could have looked at it. Oh, yeah. And you know, when you hit me, you said, you didn't even know I was sick. You said, hey, you want to do it later on this week? No, there is no later on this week. It's a commitment that I made to somebody I love, right? So it's all how you look at things and the actions that you take.
Yeah, I gave you an out because I know your schedule gets busy, and I just assume like anything can pop up that's more like an emergency live. So I appreciate it. And then when you come on sick, I'm like, my heart, this man. I won't keep you too much longer because you don't feel well. I do want to take some questions. So I had to submit some.
By the way, I forgot the day and age where as somebody said, why does he have COVID? I do not have COVID. I have something worse than COVID. It's called a 5-year-old. And they come home with a fresh new cold every 3 weeks. Yeah.
This one. Oh, I love this question because I feel like I know some of the answer, but I want them to hear. This says, I'm a middle school teacher. How has a teacher helped you succeed?
You said, you said they're a middle school teacher, and how has a teacher helped me succeed in past?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe teachers and veterans of this country's underappreciated commodities, greatest commodities. Your teacher is going to be the first probably out of your family, the first out of your family external mentor. And 2 or 3 of my teachers always believed in me, and they realized, I didn't know I was dyslexic until into my 30s, but they realized that I had a challenge with learning, and they always steered me to do other things. One of my teachers said, we have a program called Co-op in high school where you can go to work 1 week and get credit, and then alternatively you go to school every other week. He said now there's less homework for you to do and less work for you to do, David, and you can learn about business. I became a messenger at a place called First Boston, which happens to be a venture capital firm where I'm an angel investor now and a venture capitalist in some sense. So I learned it from a really early age. However, there was another teacher that did not plan to inspire me. The teacher told me that I'd be dead or in jail by the time I was 21. And I worked as hard as I could to make sure that I would prove that teacher wrong. But for the most part, teachers are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I love teachers, and I have like a lot of teachers that are so special in my heart. One was an English teacher. He just had such a robust vocabulary, and I love how he spoke, especially being a kid in Philly. And, you know, we have like half Northern vibes, half Southern drawl. And he said, Kelly, you must read difficult text if you want to have a robust vocabulary. And I just started reading books that I didn't understand, and it impacted me in the most profound way. It made me love language. It made me love other languages. It made me feel more confident in other classes. It was a wild thing to have said to you, that it stuck with me my entire life. Okay, let's find one more question. All right, let's see what this says. What is the best advice for a new business is starting out, especially in the digital age? Everything is social media.
That's a very general question. The businesses starting out, any business starting out, use what I call the power of broke. You use as little capital as you can and try to build a consumer base. Money often highlights your weaknesses. If you feel like you're not getting enough people converting, and maybe you have weak ads. If you put out more weak ads, you're just going to get the same results. So it is all about building the biggest following you can with little capital. You know, when we started Fubu, we really had I would say about a dozen stores in the New York area that we would deliver to. Now, most people would like to say, well, you should have 30 or 40 or 50 stores all around the country. No, I wanted to over deliver to these stores and perfect and sell the most I could per linear square foot. Because then once I knew those stores really well like that, I was able to replicate that all around the country and all around the world. But I used those 8 stores where most people be like, well, we need more stores. No, you don't. So you try to perfect who you are dealing with.
Yeah. All right. And since I super hate general questions, and that was general, we're going to do one more, because you're like, how do I success? And you're like, ma'am. So this is a good one, and it leads into what you just said. What's one lesson Fubu taught you that can only be experienced firsthand?
There was a time when, well, customers are first, because as I was sharing about those 8 stores, or as I was sharing about the customers we were hitting, when we ended up going into or trying to sell to the big stores, they said, well, we don't know if we want you in the stores, because believe it or not, 4 African American men on the hang tag, they thought some stores did say we look gang related. Some stores said we don't want those type of people in the store. I don't know what that meant. I don't know. They felt people were going to have shootouts or shoplift, whatever the case was. But when we were selling to those little stores in the hood, those mom and pop stores are, instead of like you go to a big department store where the stuff's in the corner, maybe somebody will help you, maybe somebody won't. You have something in your hand, nobody's at the register. Those stores in the hood would not only tell those kids, they would say, oh, you know who this is? These are these guys. Here's what they're doing. They would also call us and say, here's what we don't like about your product. Here, who else is selling. Here's what the kids are asking for. They were our best ambassadors. So what would happen is, by the time those big stores got around to us, that one person who had that one store in the hood had now 6 stores in the hood. And we would decide not to sell to a lot of the bigger people because we knew that the everyday entrepreneur had our back. And that person was telling the story to the kid. When people buy your product, they generally are buying into a story. That's what separates your product from another one. The same with Bombas. People buy Bombas because they know every time they buy a pair of Bombas socks, a pair are given away to the homeless. So they're sitting here telling somebody the story, yo, you should buy Bombas socks because you're going to help the homeless. That's different than saying go buy Fruit of the Looms. right?
Yep.
So people want to tell a story. Your customers, this firsthand, they're your biggest ambassadors. I tell people all the time about this one woman. I was in a store, and the one woman came in, and the guy like shooed her away, or he didn't really talk to her. I said, "What are you doing? Why would you do that to your customer?" He said, "She's just a window shopper, man. She comes in here every single day, and she never buys anything. I don't have time for that." I had to share with him, if I go in the store now and I buy this, I may not tell you I happen to have resources. I may wear it a certain way. Maybe I don't even want you to know where that store is so we don't look the same. But that woman is probably going to her office, and every time she goes to the office, she probably goes, "Boy, when I get some money, you know where I'm going. I'm going to this store, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy this. I tried on something today. Biggest advocate right there.
I'm like,
So I
yeah,
always say your customers are your customers. Your customers are your customers.
yeah. I said, as soon as you said that, in my mind, it's like she's telling everyone she knows that this is her favorite store. She is waiting for her moment. You know what I mean? And you don't know how her life is going to change. And she's your biggest and best customer. Yeah, you got to be good to everybody.
Everybody here has bought a car or some kind of thing because back in the days, their uncle or a woman or somebody was like, "Woo, I sure like that Jaguar. When I get one, I'm going to get that." And it put that brand in the top of your head as equivalent to success.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you do when you have great customers.
It's true. Thank you so much, Daymond. I appreciate your time. I appreciate talking through a cold. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this conversation and I hope you found it inspiring. I'm going to put it in my feed so you can go rewatch the entire thing if you missed the beginning. I'm wishing you well. I'm always rooting for you. I'm always around if you need whatever, you know that. And yeah, any final words?
Yeah, what is brown and sticky?
Brown and sticky. Oh my God. I don't know.
A stick. Come on. Yeah. No, you weren't feeling that one.
No, so obvious that it was like, oh, duh.
All right. All right, Kel, love you and hope everybody is safe. And that's it. Peace.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.